I think now I'm gonna make my my tier list for like my serious tier list. Like in terms of what characters I think are the best and the worst. You know, I'm not one of the best players in the world or anything, but I've played a shit ton of hours on comp. I know what the meta is. I'm pretty familiar with the meta. I was almost top 500. And I'd say I'm really good at the game. So I think I understand it a bit more than a lot of people. Obviously, sometimes I'm gonna have biases from my personal experience, but I'm gonna try to be as nuanced as possible when it comes to what works and what doesn't. So let's start with Warlock, I guess. I think Warlock is only good. He's only good because he's got the same problem as like Rocket and Jeff, in the sense that they have no defensive ult. He has the Born Again one, but Born Again is probably one of the easier support ults to counter. And it's just not, it's nowhere near as good as like Mantis ult or Cloak and Dagger ult or Luna ult or Invisible Woman ult. It's very much situational, whereas the other support ults can be used in any scenario, really. You shouldn't use them in any scenario, but they can be. But like Warlock, he's good in triple support. If you put him in triple support, I'd say he's A tier. If you put him in double support, I'd say he's B tier. Black Panther. So Black Panther's, I don't know. He's in a weird spot where like supports are so good now. Like if you play against competent support players, like let's say you play against a Loki and an Invisible Woman, for example, or even a Mantis. If they have a Luna on the other team and a Namor, a lot of Black Panthers goes to waste. But I'm not going to say he's a bad character just because there's counters to said character. Because every character in the game really has a counter. It's just a matter of how well that counter actually is in practice. And I think Namor with his Luna team up really scuffs Black Panther. Pretty much every diver except for Psylocke gets scuffed by that Namor turret. And even Psylocke can still get annoyed by it, but it doesn't like hold her all because she actually has range, so she can shoot the turrets. But like, I mean, he still has a lot of other strengths. Like if you're not countering him, he's gonna have a field day. Like, quite honestly, he's probably the hardest, besides Spider-Man, he is the hardest diver character to track consistently, because he literally is a speedster. He's really good at distracting backlines, really good at it. And if they don't have a Namor, he's gonna be really effective. I think with a Namor, he's probably C tier. Without a Namor, or even, I don't know, Penny's not... If your team's competent, Penny's not going to stop Black Panther because people will just shoot the nest. I don't know, I'd say with Namor in the game, he's C tier. Without Namor, he's A tier. Venom is a diver, though. Venom, yeah, but he's also... Venom's kind of like a mix, where like, he's kind of like a Psylocke in the sense that he can play more up with the front line and, you know, get poke damage and create space. And he can also dive at the same time. But Black Widow, let's talk about Black Widow. I think Black Widow is C tier. The reason I say Black Widow is C tier is because, one, she has 250 health. She's really easy to kill. She does have a small hitbox, but like, she's still kind of easy to hit. She does have good movement. Her strafing speed, though, is not as good as like supports who also have like the same kind of hitbox. Because like supports like Luna, Mantis, Invisible Woman, they can strafe really well and like really fast, and they have a small hitbox, which makes them harder to hit. Widow doesn't strafe that fast, and most of her movement comes from her sprint and her power jump. I don't know. I think what they need to do with Widow is, I think they need to give her more utility. I think they need to make her kick have a lower cooldown. She probably needs some sort of grenade. Like in this, like I think she could get a plasma grenade, which is kind of like her ult, but it has a smaller AoE and it doesn't do as much damage, but it still slows people down. I think if they gave her more utility and like lowered her kick cooldown, she could be probably A tier, maybe raise her health to 275 as well. She could probably be A tier, but for right now, I think she's C tier. Even though, if you hit headshots very consistently, I think she's already A tier, but majority of the people in the world, and even the people who are good with Widow, are not going to be hitting headshots as consistently as you need to for her character to be here. And she's also just kind of really easy to counter. Like if you get a Psylocke in her face, she's dead. Any diver, really, she's dead. She's not going to do anything. unless the diver just kind of sucks. Hulk gets banned a lot in high ranks, but like he's a really he can be an annoyance, he can be a nuisance, especially with his Gamma team up. Personally, I think, well, the Gamma team up, because whenever I play, because Psylocke is a character who's never banned, and when I play as Psylocke, I feel like I make Iron Man unplayable. He is such a big hitbox. He's really easy to hit. Like, it's so easy to get a one-shot combo off on Iron Man as Psylocke. It kind of makes him unviable. And I think people kind of, while the Gamma team up is strong, but it's not hard to counter. I don't think. It can still be annoying even when you're countering it. I feel like people gas up how broken it is, because if you get a hit scan target like Punisher, Psylocke, Hela, they're gonna fry Iron Man. He's not gonna be that effective. I think Hulk is probably A tier because the team up is still good. It's still effective when it can be used. Hulk himself is really good at creating space. He's got really good movement, probably the second best movement, if not the best movement for a tank, honestly. Maybe Captain America's probably got better movement. Yeah, Captain America does have better movement. I think Hulk, he does decent damage. He can shield people. If you use that correctly. He can stun people. His clap does like 100 damage, I'm pretty sure. He's definitely a really strong hero, but you need competent healers. And you also need your team to push with you when you're making space. Hulk would probably be like D tier if you're playing in lower ranks, because a lot of people don't know what, like, you know, the basics of the game. But I think for Cap, I don't know, he can be annoying, but he's also really, they call him the tickle monster because he doesn't do enough damage. Unless he has a Thor team up, he's not doing shit for damage. Like, he's just in your face punching, and it's like a little kid trying to punch an adult. He's just not doing anything, really, when it comes to damage, unless he has a team up. He's just really, like, I don't know. I feel like he's super easy to counter. He can be a little annoying in the right hands, but I just don't think he does enough right now. I feel like he's fine at C tier. Cloak and Dagger, probably the second best healer, if not the best support character in the game right now. Her ult charges stupid fast. Pretty much every fight you have a Cloak and Dagger ult. Cloak can be really effective in terms of peeling for himself against dive characters. His blinding wall that not only does damage boost for your teammates, but also you, and blinds the enemy, multiple enemies too, is really fucking good. Cloak has so much, Dagger has so much utility items in terms of her healing kit. She has her healing wall, she has her bubble, she has just her regular fire, which does percentage-based heals for how much health a person has. You don't have to aim with the character, either of them. She's just insane. She is fucking insane. And I honestly, she might be the best support right now. The only glaring issue with Cloak and Dagger is Magneto can easily counter a Cloak and Dagger ult. But if you're a good Cloak and Dagger, there's kind of ways to make that more difficult. And if you have a Strange on your team, he can block Magneto's ult, so your ult doesn't get scuffed. You can also do it. You can also block. I actually recently discovered this playing Namor. If you get in Magneto's face as Namor and you use your bubble, your shift ability, you can actually fully counter Magneto ult, unless there's people behind him. But like, if you just get in his face, he's not gonna. His metal ball is gonna hit you, and you're not gonna take any damage because you're in Namor shift. Is this for ranked? Maybe not specifically for ranked. I think it's just for everything. Doctor Strange, I'd still say he's the best. I'm struggling to think of a tank that's better than Doctor Strange. His portal, when used correctly, there's so many like opportunities for plays that come out of that. It can completely save you from losing. It's like it's kind of a team saving ability. His portal can kill you instantly. Yeah, I mean, you can counter other Doctor Strange portals. You can create so many opportunities for plays with your teams with his portals. His shield is insane. It counters so many ults. He's got his shift, his flight ability. His ult is also insane. Like, it's like it can be a team wiping ult when, you know, it's used correctly and used in the right situation at the right time. Strange is a goat. Strange is crazy. I still think he's probably the best tank in the game. Groot, I think Groot's S tier. I'm not gonna lie. He creates a lot of space. The major downside of Groot, if the other team has a Moon Knight, he's a really big hitbox for Moon Knight to bounce his unks off of, and for Moon Knight to charge his ult off of. Wolverine, he's also an easy target for Wolverine. I think what mediates that is simply the space that this man makes. Like, Groot creates so much space, he can wall you off from your healers. His ult is insane even on its own, but like you pair his ult with Moon Knight, team wipe. You're not, it's just an easy team wipe. I think Groot Moon Knight is the best counter to triple support, for sure. I've yet to see a better counter to triple support than Groot Moon Knight. So yeah, I think Groot's S tier. I think he's S tier. Hawkeye, I'm gonna be honest, he's not that good anymore. I think Hawkeye is only good when he's uncontested. Like, he's got nobody diving him. But when he's getting dove, he's not that good. He can still one-shot you with a fully charged arrow, but like, it's really hard to hit headshots with Hawkeye. He's not even hit scan, so it's even harder to hit headshots with Hawkeye. I don't know. I think Hawkeye's like B tier. He didn't even get nerfed that bad. I think he did. Unless you really like, because before the nerf, he wasn't like, you didn't even need to fully charge up shots, and like a body shot would take half your health as a squishy. Now he's manageable. I think you get a diver in Hawkeye's face, he's not gonna do much unless he's getting healer pocketed. But even still, if the healers are pocketing their Hawkeye, that means somebody else is not getting healed. I just don't think Hawkeye is very good anymore. Hela's S tier still. I don't know if I'd say she's S plus, literally just because she's 250 health now. She's got better movement than Hawkeye. She can deal with divers better than Hawkeye. She can hit shots more consistently than Hawkeye. Hela is only broken, like before her nerf, Hela was broken and she didn't take as much skill. Now that she's lost health and she does less damage, she's broken in the sense that you need to have really good aim and good positioning and use of your utility. If you can't do those things, she's not broken. And you can also dive her. It's not as easy to dive Hela because of her stun, because of her bird, but you can dive her and make her run back to her healers, or, you know, scuff her positioning. That's why I don't think she's S plus tier. I think you can mediate that. You can counter her. Iron Fist is the worst character in the game. In quick play, if you play quick play, you might think Iron Fist is good. You play Doom Match, you might think Iron Fist is good. He's not. You put him against competent players that know how to counter him. Pretty much there's a lot of heroes that can counter him. You literally can just stand still and headshot him, and you're gonna do more damage than he will. His movement is not very good. He's really easy to shoot. He has a really big hitbox. Only time you're not gonna die when you're diving is if you land your parry, which is really hard to not let Iron Fist get his parry off, because you can see him doing it really easily. So you just stop shooting for 2 seconds and then he doesn't have it, and all his bonus health is just he's not gonna get it. So if he's not getting his bonus health, he's useless, and it's really easy to counter that bonus health. His kit is just, he doesn't do anything. He's such he's the easiest diver in the game to kill. He sucks. He really does. Iron Man, without the team up, I'd say he's C tier, because he's so easy to kill. He really is. There's so many characters that can kill him so easily. With the team up, I'd say he's A tier. He still has the problem of being able to get killed easily, but he does so much damage and you need to react to it immediately or you're just dead. With that team up, especially if Mantis is damage boosting him. Yeah. And, you know, if you run triple support and Iron Man's getting healed, like pocketed, it's hard to stop that team up. It really is. That's when Iron Man's hard to stop, is when he's got triple support backing him up and pocketing him. That's when he's hard to stop. Jeff the Shark, I'd say C tier. He's not good in ranked. The only time Jeff is a usable support, just like let me get Rocket as well. I might as well get Rocket because they're going to be in the same tier. The only time these two supports are usable in higher elo lobbies is either when you have triple support or when you the other team has one of them as well. Like if the other team is running double support and it's a Rocket and some other guy, or a Jeff and some other guy, that's the only time these healers will not lose you the game. If you're using these characters and the other team has triple support, or like Cloak and Dagger Luna, Cloak and Dagger Mantis, Invisible Woman Luna, or like any of the busted supports, you're selling your team. You really are. You're absolutely tossing games. Yeah, you're tossing your own games. You're tossing it for everybody. You're a piece of shit if you stay on these characters knowing the other team has a busted support comp. I really do. I think you're an asshole. Especially when people ask you nicely to swap and you don't. It's annoying. Loki is S tier. Loki is a demon. He can copy any ult in the game for offensive purposes and support defensive purposes. His clones counter a lot of dive characters. He's annoying for every diver. Pretty much every diver. He's a pain in the ass to deal with. His runes can counter ults alone. As a Psylocke main, when Loki counters my ult with just utility, fucking hell, that shit pisses me off. He makes it hard for divers. He really does. He's probably the best support to pick when it comes to facing divers. His healing when you have 3 clones down is insane. The only downside to Loki's healing is he's not hit scanned, so he's kind of hard to hit the flyers on your team. He's not really good for that. That's probably the only downside of Loki, though. His invisible is crazy. His damage can actually be crazy too if you use his clones correctly. Yeah, he's probably one of the best, probably a top 3 support character right now, honestly. Luna Snow, S+, still S+. Also these, I think Cloak and Dagger is better than Luna right now. Her ult, I don't even need to speak for Luna. Her healing is insane just on its own. Her left shift makes her healing even more insane. She has guard for diver that helps divers. Her ult is 12 seconds and is just basically invulnerability, and it can also damage boost when you use that correctly. Like, she's just insane. Her movement is incredibly fast. She strafes super fast. She has 2 to 75 health. She's not an easy kill for divers, for certain divers. She's got her stun ability, which can stun ults. It can help her peel for herself. Luna's just still broken. Magik is better. She's probably the second best diver in the game, honestly. Magik is fine at best. Nah, you're wrong. The only time Magik isn't viable is against the Namor. She has more utility. I think she's harder to counter than Black Panther because she has a one-shot combo on squishies that is harder to deal with. It deals the damage much faster. It kills faster than Panther. So she can get trade kills on supports really easily when used correctly. She gets her bonus health, obviously, when she uses her abilities. The Dark Child, now her ult now is crazy. If you don't have a support ult and she has her ult, she's probably getting at least 2 kills. At least 2 kills on your supports because she's going to be targeting your supports and maybe even more. Magik is really good. She's definitely better. I'd say she's better than Iron Man. Magneto is S tier. He's got his bubble. He's got a shit ton of health. He's got his shield. His ult can counter Cloak and Dagger ult. It can also counter Luna ult. It can counter a lot of support ults. I think it can counter literally every support ult in the game. Really good. It can also counter DPS ults. Not fully counter, but it can delay and obstruct like Star-Lord ult or Punisher ult. He's a really good. He does a lot of damage, low-key. He's got his pushback, which can create space. With the Wanda team up, his sword does a shit ton of damage. He's basically a DPS when it comes to damage with that team up. Magneto's probably the second best tank in the game. Mantis is S tier. I'd say she's below Loki, but she's also the best DPS in the game. No, she low-key does a solid amount of damage for a support. The amount of times I've lost a 1v1 to a Mantis playing Psylocke or Panther is, I'd like to say it's embarrassing, but it's really not, because if she gets that sleep off, which is incredibly broken, her sleep is busted. She gets that sleep off, there's tech as well where you can shoot in the middle of your sleep going out, so you can get 2 hits, then you damage boost yourself, easy headshot. Her sleep can counter ults, like, her ult itself is really good. It's not as good as Cloak and Dagger or Luna because she's actually her defensive ult. It doesn't heal as fast as the others. So you can kill her through her ult easier than like Luna or Cloak and Dagger. But like she can damage boost you too. She's just really good as a healer. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm not ranking these tiers. Like Mantis is not like down here because she's like the worst in S tier or anything. I'm putting them, I'm probably, like, how I'm gonna rank them, it's like, I'm just gonna put their roles next to each other, like, for example, S+ tier. Cloak and Dagger, I think she's better than Luna, so she's ahead of Luna. And Magneto is better than Groot, I think, so she's in front of Groot. Moon Knight, I kind of want to put him in S tier, I'm not gonna lie, because I think he's really good. Moon Knight is most effective. Okay, when the other team doesn't have divers, he's S tier. I think Moon Knight is S tier when you're not getting contested and you can have really good off angles and you're not getting contested by like a Psylocke or a like a Hela or a Hawkeye or a Storm. But if the other team has one of those characters, then I think he's A tier because Then you need to shift your positioning completely. You need to play more with your tanks so that you're not getting off-angled as much and your healers can see you more. Because you only have 250 health and you have a big hitbox. So I think when you're getting contested, he's A tier. Because your positioning can't be as good. You can't flank as good. His ult is insane now. Some people think it's broken now. I don't think it's broken. I think it's fine. I think his ult's fine. It's only broken when it's paired with Groot ult, but at the same time, you're using 2 of your team's ults for something to become broken. I think Moon Knight's better than every DPS here, though. I think he's better than every DPS in A tier. Namor's probably the... Namor's probably... I don't think he's S plus tier, but I think he is S tier. I think he's probably... Namor's probably the second best DPS in the game, in my opinion. Maybe I'm biased because of Psylocke, but... Or Storm, actually. Storm's... Namor is so well-rounded because his turrets counter every single dive character in the game. Venom is obviously, like, hard to counter as much because he's a tank, but he can still be annoying to Venom. But every DPS dive character Namor counters, especially with the Luna team up. If you give him Luna team up, he's S plus tier. He is S plus tier. He can do good damage, especially if you do headshots. He's got his shift ability, which makes him invulnerable for like, I think it's 4 seconds, or 3 seconds, something like that. And he can counter ults with his shift ability as well. He's super hard to dive on. Like, even if you're playing as Psylocke, someone who he counters the least in terms of dive characters in the game, he can still be hard to kill because of his shift, because if you get him low and you're in his face, you can just throw down a turret, he can use his shift, and then he'll probably be back up to full HP if his healers look at him. Yeah, he's really good. He's really good. His ult, when it's paired with Groot ult as well, is also really good. His ult doesn't let you use any of your movement abilities to get out of it, which is fucking annoying. Namor, yeah, he's one of the best DPSs in the game. Peni Parker, C tier. She doesn't counter every diver. She doesn't even counter a lot of divers, to be honest. Because if your team's competent, they're just gonna shoot the penny mines or her nest. She's really situational. You can't use her. If you're using Peni Parker on offense, on like a convoy or convergence, you're absolutely throwing your team. She's like literally useless on offense. And yeah, she's just super situational. She's super situational, massive hitbox, a walking ult charge. Like, I don't know. She doesn't even create that much space either as a tank, which as a tank, that's your role. You should be creating space, but she doesn't really do that. She's not, she just doesn't. She's probably the worst tank in the game, actually. Yeah, I don't know. I think Cap's more annoying to deal with than Peni, to be honest. Penny's probably good in low ranks. Yeah, you're right, because people are stupid and they don't know how to shoot the nest. The only diver, she counters every diver in the game except for she doesn't counter completely, because if you just shoot her nest, she doesn't counter shit. But I'd actually, the only reason I'd put her over Cap is because of her stun. Her stun is the only thing I would say puts her over Cap. That's probably the only thing I'd say puts her over Cap. But yeah, I mean, the only divers that she can't really counter is Psylocke and Spider-Man, because Spider-Man, if you play him correctly, you won't really be on the ground often. You'll be, using your movement, and her mines and spider nest won't really do much to you. But all right, Psylocke, call me biased as much as you want. I think she's S plus tier. I think she's the hardest diver to counter. She is an absolute nuisance to majority of the DPS characters. If there's a Moon Knight on the other team, you're scuffing him really badly a lot. If there's a Storm on the other team, she's running back to her healers a lot. Iron Man, she's running back to her healers a lot. Squirrel Girl, she plays back with the healers, so Psylocke doesn't really, she's harder to counter Squirrel Girl, because smart Squirrel Girl players will be playing with their healers. Punisher, not a problem when you're Psylocke. There's so many DPS characters in the game. The only annoying one, I'd say the most annoying DPS characters to deal with as Psylocke is probably Star-Lord and Bucky and Mr. Fantastic. Those are the only ones I ever have problems with when it comes to 1v1ing them or getting picks on them. She has great utility. Her dashes are amazing. They do damage. They can let you get out of a situation. She has her invis. Her ult's not as strong as it should be. I think her ult needs to get buffed. Against good players, most of the time, you're not gonna get more than 2 picks off your ult. But yeah, I do think Psylocke, if she's not S plus tier, she's at least here. She's an S plus tier, but she needs a buff. I think her ult needs a buff. That's the only, and it doesn't even need to be much. Like, I don't think, when I say buff, I think her ult just needs to last a little bit longer. Like maybe a second, maybe give her ult another second so that you have more opportunities to, you know, not be countered so easily. I'll take her out of S plus tier, okay? I'll put her in S tier. I'll put her in S tier. I do think she's the best DPS in the game. And again, maybe that's me being biased because I'm a Psylocke main. I use Moon Knight a lot. He's my second main, and he's an A tier. So Punisher is A tier. He does a lot. He counters every flyer. His turret does a shit ton of damage. His turret can actually counter some ults. Not counter for your team, but for you, it can actually counter some ults. His ult is insane. It's a team it can be a team wiping ult like quite easily when it's used correctly. And if you get damage boosted as well, and if you get healer pocketed, that ult is devious. He does a shit ton of damage. And his smoke screen, the biggest problem with Punisher is he can easily be dove on, but that smoke screen does make it a little annoying to dive on him. That's the only thing that helps him when it comes to dive characters, I think. I think he's a solid A tier. Scarlet Witch. I think Scarlet Witch is right under Widow. Her ult is only good if you get a Magneto bubble. I can't speak today, bro. Her ult is only good if you get a Magneto bubble, or if you get a Hulk bubble, or yeah, that's actually it. Or Strange Portal. Sorry, Strange Portal. Those are the only time you're gonna get that ult off. Or if you're in a support ult. But even if you're in a support ult, you can just get stunned out of it really easily. But yeah, she's super easy. She's only got 250 health, big hitbox. She doesn't do enough damage. She really doesn't. She just doesn't do enough. She's got a really low skill ceiling, to be honest. The only thing when it comes to Wanda, her skill ceiling comes down to positioning and using your shift correctly and being able to actually aim your daggers. Like you can win a 1v1 with Wanda if you land your daggers on her body, or like on another DPS's body. The only time she's gonna get a left click is gonna get you consistent picks in terms of, like, you know, you actually getting the picks, not just holding left click and doing some damage while the rest of your team did most of it. The only time that's gonna happen is when, actually no, it's literally just when your team does damage. If your team doesn't get someone at least half health, you're probably not gonna kill them as Wanda. That's the only time she's annoying, is when you're like low health and the other person doesn't have to aim, so they just can kind of kill you easily. Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man is, I'm gonna be honest, I think he's B tier. I think he's above Hawkeye. I really do think he's above Hawkeye. A lot of people say with Spider-Man, because I don't even use Spider-Man that much, but I've played against great Spider-Mans. I've played with great Spider-Mans. I've watched great Spider-Mans. He can be really effective, okay? He can be really, really effective. A lot of people think just because Spider-Man doesn't get picks every time he's diving, he's somehow like a bad character. But no. He's a nuisance. He can really be a nuisance. The thing about diving, and this goes for every dive character in the game, if you're drawing resources from their supports, if you're forcing support ults, if you're drawing attention away from their supports so that somebody else is not getting healed, you are still bringing just as much, maybe not just as much, but close to as much value as if you're getting picks, okay? Being a distraction is really valuable. And that's what Spider-Man does. He's super hard to hit. He's probably the 3 hardest characters to pin down, like kill in the game, is Spider-Man, Rocket Raccoon, and Jeff the Land Shark. Spider-Man is super, super, super hard to hit, especially if you're good with his movement. The only reason I think he's in B tier below the other divers right here, like Panther and Magik, is because he doesn't get picks on healers as consistently as the other ones do. I think the only thing they need to do for Spider-Man in terms of making him stronger, I think his melee punches need to do more damage, and I think he needs to have like 2 more web clusters, but other than that, I think he's fine. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with Spider-Man. He's probably he's the hardest character in the game to play effectively, but if you do play him effectively, if you give Spider-Man Venom team up, I think he's second best diver in the game. With the Venom team up, he is A tier. Without it, he is B tier. I forgot to mention the Venom team up. I mean, the Venom combo is an easy one shot. If you have the Venom team up and you're not getting healer picks or just DPS picks or squishy picks in general, You suck. You need to pack it up. I mean, I don't even play Spider-Man a lot, and I can do that shit. But yeah, that's all I gotta say for Spider-Man. Squirrel Girl is I think she's A. She's really good at doing poke damage. She's probably actually, besides Moon Knight, I think she's probably the best at poking. Her ult is actually insane now. It's actually kind of hard to shoot the squirrels, I'm not gonna lie. Like, when I shoot at the squirrels, I feel like you have to hit directly in the center for you to do damage. And there's just so much chaotic stuff that it's like, sometimes you don't even want to focus your attention to the squirrels. Her ult's really good. It does a lot of damage. She's good at forcing you out of position, because she hits you with one of those acorns, that's like half your health bar. You can jump over them, though. You can't like single jump over them. You can use movement to get away from them, but she's still forcing you out of position, like a lot, which is good. If you're getting out of position, then you're an easier target to hit. And it's also hard to keep track of the squirrels in between all the other chaos going on. She does a shit ton of damage. Her E ability resets all of her cooldowns, which is amazing. Her Spider-Man team up is busted. That shit's broken. That shit's super easy to land. It's kind of like Mantis's sleep in the sense that, like, it's an AoE, but it can also do multiple people. And if you're body shotting people with the acorn grenades, holy shit, she does so much damage. So much damage. It's basically a 2-shot to squishies. If she lands a body shot on you, it's a 2-shot. Like, you're just cooked. Her stun is also really good to nail down people. And it's actually not that hard to hit, to be honest. Her stun, like her right click. But yes, Squirrel Girl, really strong. Star-Lord is amazing. So is really good. He does a lot of damage when he's in between the 15 meter range, I'd say, probably. His E not only makes him kind of hard to hit, but it also does a lot of damage, and you don't gotta do anything except just, you know, fly above them and just like make yourself even harder to hit. Star-Lord S tier. You know what? He probably is S tier, honestly. Because thinking about, he can poke. He can do good poke if he's playing with the tanks. His movement is fucking insane. He's really hard to hit. His dodge move can counter ults, which is crazy. He's really hard to hit. I'd say Star-Lord is actually, he's kind of a diver himself, but he also counters other divers because of his E ability. His E ability, like anybody that has fast movement, it makes it way easier to kill them. Yeah, Star-Lord definitely is. He definitely is S tier. He's really good. His ult is, the only thing I'll say about his ult, a lot of the time it's gonna get countered by a support ult. And he's much easier if your team focuses him and he's not getting pocketed. He's really hard to kill. He's really easy to kill out of his ult. But yeah, most of the time it's gonna get countered. But if it's not countered, that's a team wipe. If you're getting somewhat good heals, like you just focus their healers, team wipe. That's a team-winning ult. Storm's the best DPS in the game. I'm not gonna hold you. She's S+ tier right now. I know I said Psylocke's the best DPS in the game, but nah, I was trolling. Storm is the best DPS in the game. She's banned now every game. She does insane damage. She can counter divers with her E. The only downside to Storm, she's a really easy target to hit. Harder to hit. She's harder to hit than Iron Man because she strafes faster than Iron Man. She has a smaller hitbox, etc. But if she's even getting somewhat of a healer pocket, she's gonna be really effective against you. Her ult's really good. Her ult's super strong. If they don't have support ults to counter, those supports are dying. Unless it's an invisible woman, she can get away. Invisible woman can get away from Storm's ult just by going invisible. Cloak and Dagger can somewhat mess it up, but she can still kill Cloak and Dagger. She's just insane. She can movement boost your team. She damage boosts her team. Her E is literally, I think it does 80 damage every 2 seconds. And you don't even gotta aim. Her team up does, it's chain lightning, which does insane damage. It's hard to say there's a better character than Storm, or a better DPS than Storm right now. She's cracked. She's absolutely nuts. Thor. I don't know. I actually don't know right now. Thor does a lot of damage. I honestly don't know enough about Thor. He's A tier. He probably is A tier. The only downside to Thor, you can't solo tank with Thor. He's like a hybrid DPS tank. He does a shit ton of damage. There's a lot of times where Thor, like, I'll have good positioning, and then Thor will just come up there, lightning cage me, and then activate his F, and then he's just throwing lightning bolts at my face, and then I'm dead. Diver, DPS, defensive tank. Yeah, I mean, he does have a lot of uses. I just don't know where I would for sure rank him. So I'm gonna keep him in, I don't know. I'm guessing I'd probably put him A tier, though. That's my best guess. Venom, I think Venom is high A. I think he's definitely better than Hulk. He can do insane damage if you hit headshots and you hit your left click consistently. His dive is the hardest dive to counter because he has so much health, and as soon as you get him low, he presses E, swings away, gets healed, does the same thing over again. He creates so much space. His ults, you can easily kill healers with his ult now that it's been buffed. He gets an insane amount of health when you use his ult, and there's a lot of people in the circle. Yeah, Venom go crazy. Venom go crazy. Venom's probably the best dive character, I think. I don't think there's a better diver than Venom in terms of how much value he brings as a distraction and the fact that he can just get picks himself. Just overall characters, not even just roles. Like, there's obviously, diver DPSs. When it comes to the job of diving, I don't think Venom is beaten. If he has Spider-Man on the team, I'd say he's right here. With Spider-Man on the team helping him dive, he's right here. You're gonna be like absolutely violating their backline. And it's actually really hard to counter. Bucky, I'd say Bucky is, I don't think he's S tier, to be honest. I don't think he's S tier. I think he's high A. He is high A. The Armed and Dangerous, his ult is, it's not that hard to counter, to be honest. It's really not. I know there's a lot of memes with his ult, but I don't really think it's that hard to counter. I've been team wiped by a Bucky ult before. That's because we didn't have any support ults, and also because we had a Loki on our team, who was just feeding the Bucky ult. But I mean, Bucky's still really strong. His gun does insane damage, even if it's only got 3 shots. His team up with Rocket is actually insane. His team up with Rocket is nuts. He's good in the sense that he can counter divers, not as good as like Namor, but like he can counter divers. If you hook a diver or any character in the game, if you use the hook combo where you turn around as you're hooking them in and then you shift them into your team, that can be really effective. That can get free picks. His E ability, which slows you and does damage, is really good. He's got a really good kit. I just don't think he's as good as like Star-Lord or Hela or Namor or Psylocke. Thor can counter his hook. Kind of, because he's got his hammer wind up and then he can get out, but not always. Maybe with the Rocket team up, maybe he's right below Star-Lord, but I think I'd put him right here. Wolverine. So after his buff, I'd say he's right. Say he's right here. Wolverine is the tank destroyer. If you're a tank, the only tank I think is safe, somewhat safe against Wolverine is Magneto sometimes because of his bubble, and Venom because of his movement. But if you play as Groot or Peni Parker or Thor, Captain America, Hulk, pretty much every tank, it's gonna be a bad day for you if you're going against a good Wolverine. His ult is actually crazy if you line it up correctly. His passive is incredibly good. He's just really good. I don't think I need to speak for Wolverine. I think a lot of the people who know what Wolverine can do have probably watched Team Captain. Any good Wolverine player, you know what he's doing. You know what his purpose is. You know what he's made for. And it's to give tanks a bad day. Mr. Fantastic, I think Mr. Fantastic is B tier right now. In the right hands, he's not unviable. He can be used. He can be used for sure. He's not like, I don't think you're throwing your team if you're using Mr. Fantastic. I think he's usable, but the problem that's holding Mr. Fantastic back, and I think the community collectively agrees with this, is his ult just kind of blows. They need to, I don't know what to do with his ult specifically. Like, I feel like my changes might make it a little busted, but I feel like what I would do is make it bounce faster and make it do more damage. It doesn't need to do, maybe, because it goes from 50 damage to 60 damage to 70 damage to 80 damage to 100 damage, and you bounce 6 times, and you get 10 damage for every consecutive bounce added on to the base damage. So if they up that to 25 for every consecutive bounce, 50 damage to 75 damage, to 100 damage to 125 damage, 150 damage, and they made it bounce faster, like not a lot faster, just a little bit faster, then I think he could probably be high A. I think he could probably be high A if they did that. But his ult is really the biggest thing holding him back right now, to be honest. Sue Storm is S tier. I think she's better than Mantis. I don't think she's better than Loki. I think she's more fun to play than Loki. me personally. But Loki's got more utility than her, or more effective utility, I should say. The only advantage that Sue Storm has over Loki right now is the fact that, you know, she has faster movement speed, and the fact that she can go invisible. She's a little, I mean, Loki's still harder to dive, but I mean, Loki can go invisible, but it's harder to, it's easier to get him out of invis than it is with Invisible Woman. She also does a bit more healing in the sense that, like, the way her healing works is, like, you shoot it out, then it comes back to you. So it can go back and forth and do double the healing, and it can go transfer through multiple teammates, and it can do damage to enemies. You know, she's got her utility with her shift that can bring flyers out of the air, pulls in people, does consecutive damage. Her E ability can pull people into your team. It can push people off the map. She's a little bit up there. I think she's right next to Loki in terms of her being a healer. I think when they eventually, if they eventually nerf Cloak and Dagger ult and Luna ult, then I think she'd probably be better than Luna. Maybe not Cloak and Dagger, maybe Cloak and Dagger, I don't know. But the only downside to Invisible Woman right now compared to these two is her ult just doesn't last as long. It really just doesn't. And then I predict that the Thing, he'll probably be A tier. I'm gonna take a guess. I'm gonna say he's better than Hulk. I'm gonna guess that he's better than Hulk. And Human Torch, I'm gonna guess that he's gonna be an S tier. That's my prediction. But yeah, this is the tier list. This will be the tier list.